The Crescent City is always full of exciting affairs. Award-winning journalist and social media influencer Casey Ferrand has entertaining conversations about the people, places, and events in the greater New Orleans area so you can stay in the know.
So I'm here with Sheba Turk. She is a morning news anchor in New Orleans, and you've kind of been putting natural hair on the map on local television. Obviously, you've got the mane that everyone loves.
You're very sweet.
Talk about just kind of what made you want to decide to actually start wearing your natural hair on television.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. You were one of the first people who did it, if not the first in like our era on TV to wear natural hair. I remember seeing it and I was like, Casey's doing it. But I remember then too, yours was short and I still was like, man, I'm not confident enough because mine is huge and I really don't know what to do with it. But it was about 2 years ago when I officially decided I'm not wearing my hair straight on TV anymore. The journey goes back to years before then. I first got in TV and was tired of straight hair then. You know, I chemically relaxed my hair like many of us did in elementary school. And then I was like, man, I really don't want this anymore. But then it's so difficult to grow it out. And it looks crazy as you're growing it out because you don't know what to do with it, the transitioning phase, that I was like, let me just keep straightening it because I don't know what else to do. And then I got in TV news and several black women straight up told me, straighten your hair to get a job.
Because it's what you're supposed to do.
That's
you're
what
told.
You're supposed to do. That's literally what they told me to do, and I trusted them, and I don't think that they were wrong. I will say that, and so I did, but then I didn't feel like myself. I didn't like it. I didn't like the straight hair anymore. I really didn't want it, and I tried everything to maintain it. So I have big hair, so it would get frizzy, so then viewers would complain about that. I put a weave in, I hated it. Then they would ask condescendingly, is it your hair? So I was like, y'all not happy, no way. So let me just give you my hair.
Happy.
Yeah, let me make myself happy.
Right, and I know like I tell young journalists this all the time. It is okay to be yourself, but sometimes you kind of have to like get in the door. You get in the door. I don't regret doing it the way I did because I always tell young girls or people would say, well, why don't you just wear your hair like it is? And if they don't like it, you know, they're not allowed to not like it. I'm like, they're not going to tell you that they're not hiring you because of that. Right. They may not even know that they're not hiring you because of that. They consciously just, I just don't see it as professional, subconsciously, right? But why not? They don't think anything's wrong with that.
Exactly. And everything's wrong with that. And so at first it was just me being myself and wearing my hair like I wanted to wear it. And then it became a message of, do I want another young girl to look at the TV, which is what I was getting, and they'd be like, oh, I want to be Sheba Turk. Well, does that mean she's going to have to straighten her hair too? I did not want that to be part of my character. Yeah.
And I know like now there's a lot of these support groups, I guess I would call them, on Instagram, like curly girls on air, natural girls on air. So it's we can see other women like ourselves, and that kind of makes us feel more comfortable being ourselves on air. And you also said it. I mean, there's myself, and then also there's another young lady, Susan Isaacs at the time, who was wearing her natural hair. So like her going out was kind of my impetus.
Exactly. And I think I looked at that too and thought, if I'm a grown woman, right, and I'm looking for other examples, then the 5-year-old versions of us definitely need those examples to have confidence. Because again, I don't even think sometimes we realize the messages that we're getting or sending out. I didn't consciously think like, oh, to be a professional pretty black girl means straight hair, but that's what every image was telling me.
And in certain, it's not just news. Other professional settings deal with the same aspect too. But I think, in a sense, you're front and center. Everyone sees you, so people feel like they can tell you these things, these negative comments. I mean, talk about some of the negative things you've heard.
It started years ago when I was in that transition phase, and I decided then, oh, I'm gonna wear my hair natural. And it was like half natural, half like straight relaxed. It was a mess. And I did some kind of braid out thing and went on air. It backfired. Like people were writing comments all over Instagram and emails. I even met a lady in the mall who was like, baby, you know we don't do that. She was giving me a heart to heart, like we don't wear our hair, almost like she was protecting me. And I thought, what a terrible message, but also at the same time, I didn't think my hair looked good. Like it didn't look like I wanted to look. So I was like, okay, this doesn't work. Let me put my weave back in and keep working towards what I want it to look like.
Yeah, and we, when you think about just kind of the negativity, there's also the positive side of it.
And the positive side is brighter. The negative people are just more loud. I will say that. I've gotten 90% of the reaction to me being myself, wearing my natural hair has been, we love your hair. You look great. I get people of all races who say, I watch the news to see what your hair is doing that day. I'm like, great, because I watch to see what it's doing as well.
What the weather is going to be like, right?
100%.
Sheba's hair doing?
Yeah, what is Sheba's hair doing? It's in a bun. Maybe I should wear a bun, right? So the positive is way more just predominant, right? But the negative is loud as well.
It hurts.
Yeah, I got a mean message that kind of sparked this conversation around it, even though I've been doing it for a year now, which said that I looked like hell and straight out of Africa. And I was like, you done gone too far. First off, being out of Africa is a compliment, but I did think that this person's message spoke to what was underlying many of the conversations, that there was something wrong or unprofessional about being black. And that time I was like, let me use him as an example to tell people that's what the whole point is here. You can't tell someone their texture of their hair, or let's go way back in the day, their skin color is unprofessional. That's just wrong, and that has to end. Now, you can wear your hair straight, in a weave, in crochet braids, in an afro, whatever you want, but you're not going to tell the person who wears it the way they grow it out of their head that that's the wrong version. And I feel like that's what the message has become. Everything is okay for black women except the hair that comes out of your head. That's not right.
Because that's too much of blackness?
It's too much of blackness, and I do think that's what it is.
So when you get those negative comments, does that ever make you want to like, okay, maybe I should tame it or make it more palatable for public consumption, or what do you think?
Honestly, no. And I will say, so like I told you years ago, I wasn't to that point. I did it and I thought, oh, I don't like how it looks either. Let me do something else. When I decided to do it this time, which has taken many years to get to a point where you're outwardly confident and inwardly confident, now I'm like, I don't care what anyone thinks of my hair, and I truly mean that because I really like what it looks like. Right. This is what Sheba looks like to me. This is what I want Sheba to look like. So anybody who doesn't like it, you know, what my mama would say, but we can't say what she would say, like, just forget them.
Say it.
Yeah. Don't you egg me on. Don't you egg me on. She would say, forget them in the nice way, right? And so that's what I say. I really mean that. But I know that there are others coming behind me who are where Sheba was 5 years ago, not as confident. And so that's why I'm so vocal about it, because I could just be quiet and let them rant about my hair. But I'm like, let me use you as an example so that it's easier for the next young girl who wants to do what I'm doing.
And then what would your message be to other women who are still struggling on that fence about whether they should allow themselves to be authentically who they are, or they're still stuck in that box?
Listen, I think, you have to do it on your own time, right? And that has been part of the strength of my journey. I didn't do this when someone else was like, stop straightening your hair. I didn't do it when I felt uncomfortable with how my hair was growing out. I waited till I felt 100% confident and comfortable with it. So I think get to a point where you decide, this is what I want me to look like. And this is what I'm going to present to the world. But it takes you a while to get there. So give yourself time. Right? Make it a journey. And 2, then you just have to not focus on what people say. And I know that's easier said than done, but you have to think, what is someone's life who sits behind a computer and sends you a mean message? Because we all think negative thoughts, but who takes the time to ruin someone else's day and send them to them? So that always helps me as well. Who is somebody else to tell you what they think of your hair? It doesn't matter.
And your authenticity doesn't have to be natural. It doesn't have to be braids. It doesn't have to be weave. It can be whatever you want.
And some days mine is braids, and some days it is a ponytail, and some days it can be different things. That's for you to decide, though. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because underlying those racist comments is also a sexist undertone. We're not talking about the men.
No.
They can be 5,000 years old. They can have a pot belly. They can have no hair, little hair, some hair. Do you see what I'm saying? Nobody has those conversations about men. And that's where we need to be with women. Let us show up and look like whatever we want to look like and focus on the work. So that's really the underlying of all this. You shouldn't even talk about my hair.
That's not what it's about.
That's not what it's about. Now, if I'm on a Pantene ad, which I'm not, then you can be like, you know what? I don't like her hair in that hair commercial. It's not a hair commercial, people.
What's your hair care regimen?
Struggling. Now, listen, I haven't figured this out yet, people. I'm still new to the natural game. I want to thank all of the young women who go on YouTube and post their regimens, because they have been my guidebooks, but it's been hard. I mean, right now I'm struggling with the dryness. Some days you wake up and you're like, why is it bigger than it was yesterday? So what I do right now is wash, condition. Herbal Essences has my favorite conditioner, which is just like a little cheap $5 thing that I can comb through. And then on YouTube, the little girls just taught me about Wetline Extreme Gel. Okay. It's $3 at Sally's, and it makes this. So this is what I put in there. I put some oil, and then I put it's a wash and go. And then I put the gel and then I send it to the dryer for 25 minutes so that it like keeps the definition. That's all I know how to do. So that's all you're gonna get.
So we're gonna do some tutorials maybe one day.
Please
together.
because the moisture over here is just magnificent. Yeah,
It took time.
Listen, it does take time. So that is a hard thing too. You go on TV some days knowing you don't look like you want to look. But then I have to talk to myself and be like, girl, this is not about your hair. Go do your work very well. Somebody is probably going to tweet you and tell you your hair dry, but it is dry. So just ignore
that already.
Yeah, but you already knew that coming into the game. So just ignore that and keep working.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having this conversation. Thank you for being one of the women who were trailblazers in this, because I was, I tweeted you when you wore your braids. And I was like, girl, your braids are fly. I've been thinking about wearing braids on TV, but I hadn't stepped into it yet. So when Casey did it, I was like, oh, Casey did it. We all can do it, right? No, seriously, we all have to be role models for each other.
That's so funny to hear that. Come on.
I did.
When I did it, literally my first day on Air Natural, I talk about this all the time, was a mistake.
What do you mean?
It was a mistake.
What?
I had continued cutting off my permed ends, and it had gotten so short to the point where I could no longer straighten it. And it was like the week after Jazz Fest. I remember it distinctly. And I was at Jazz Fest sweating all day. So I had to go to work the next morning and I couldn't do anything to it. So I was like, well, this will be the day I wear the fro.
Accidental natural.
And I think I've worn it straightened on air a few times since then, but in the past 3 years, it's just been curls.
Yeah,
so.
I feel this. Mine was completely purposeful. I was like, this is the day we're doing this. I went to work like, what's going to happen? And then I got a ton of positive reception. So I kept it going and it kept it going since then. And I have not straightened my hair since. It's been a good 2 years since I flat ironed my hair. Yeah, I've never straightened it since.
Well, your curls are going to love that for you. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you. You guys have been watching In the Know. I'm Casey Ferrand. This is Sheba Turk. Thank you for tuning in.